Hello and welcome to the Business Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Adila Rafiz, the Global Business Whisperer. If you are wondering how to create a life in business that is intuitive, authentic, and successful, that is exactly what we are here to help you do each and every week, where we bring you episodes, interviews, tools, tips, everything that you are looking for to help you realize that the most important ingredient in your business is you, and listening to the whispers of your intuition, your gut instinct. It has helped me create a business beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm here to now help you do the same. So if you are ready to download some of this business whispering magic into your life and business, stay tuned because you're in the right place. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Business Whisperer podcast. My name is Dr. Adila Rafiz. I'm sure many of you have listened to me before, but I'm very excited to introduce two very special individuals who I requested come and join me today for a special conversation. So with me, I have Dr. Heba Bassiouny from Cairo, and I have Shalu Bhuchar from India. And these two women are many things, but I want to share about how they are not only my colleagues, but also I'm so proud to call them facilitators of the Life Whispering Institute. They are some of the first body whispering facilitators. They have worked with me for several years now, and they are also incredibly established in their own right. So I'm going to quickly share, for example, Dr. Heba, she's a mental health specialist, she's a psychotherapist, she's a body whispering facilitator, an Access Consciousness certified facilitator, and a Satori certified facilitator. And she has a huge audience. She's worked with thousands of people and probably facilitated thousands of classes by now, actually, over many, many years. And I know the level of result that she creates, both with individuals as well as group sessions and group classes. Shalu is based in India, but she has worked for 27 years in the corporate industry. She is the founder of her coaching work and business, and is also one of the first body whispering facilitators. And she's just done a TED Talk in India, and we're incredibly proud of her and the things that she's accomplished. I know she has some really high-level clients, including government and corporate agencies around the world that she consults for and works with. And I tell you all of this because I'm about to share how this episode came about. So these two fabulous women are also about to become certified business whispering coaches with the Life Whispering Institute. And one of the things that they're doing in order to gain that certification, but also to grow in their own business and income level, we're scaling their business and their impact in the world, is they're currently in a program with me called Build Your Own Empire. And one of the conversations that came up in our session last month was the hesitation that they felt. And when they shared it, I was like, yes, oh my gosh, I felt this for so many years. I'm right there with you. Is the comparison or the fear of being put in that same category or being associated with a lack of integrity in the industry. Okay, so we identify as belonging both to the healing, personal development industry, as well as the coaching, self-help world. There's a crossover, and we're working with clients across both corporate and financial business results in their life, but also with deep healing and empowerment work. And one of the themes that came up and was shared with others in the group as well, like they all felt the same way, was the shared collective visceral response around being so upset about some of the things we've heard, some of the things we've seen, And in fact, some of the things we've experienced ourselves, like we live in the world of the digital age and amazing marketing, right? And I myself have been drawn in and seen amazing marketing and seen someone share like the most amazing copy, like the write-up and the information and the things they say that they are going to deliver as results, either in a class or working one-on-one or in a coaching program. And I have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years in my own development work and healing work. And I've met some amazing and had some amazing experiences. And I've also been really let down at times. And one of the things that we all resonated with was this feeling of, wow, these people are delivering half or a quarter of what I deliver. These people are actually not even deeply qualified in the areas that they are claiming to create absolute transformation in. And perhaps most hurtful to all of us in the industry, it was this shared sentiment of how some of these people are charging thousands and thousands of dollars, double, triple, quadruple what many of us are currently charging, to deliver a quarter, if not less, of the results, or worse. I know we've all worked with people to undo some of the places where more stuckness or more trauma has been created because the nuance required to facilitate in areas such as deep trauma, PTSD, instances of abuse, instances where people have been really disempowered and worked with mentors or gurus, and then they've continued to seek help and they've continued to be disempowered. When those people then walk through our virtual or our physical doors, and we are struck by, oh my gosh, they've received the opposite of what someone claimed they would be offering them. And that person is in the same industry as me. That person is using the same terms to describe their work as me. And I really don't want to be seen in the same light. And so the temptation is to not show up. The temptation is to not share your message with the world. And the temptation is to not show up in any bold way, making any claims. And in this case, they're not necessarily claims, they're actually just stating and sharing who you are, the experience that you have, and what you facilitate daily. But there is such a hesitation to be maybe judged as being one of those people who are taking advantage of people or claiming to have skills that they don't, that some of the most talented leaders in the industry, the people with the most experience and integrity, are not showing up. So I wanted to facilitate this conversation today because it was the option in that call when we talked about this, where these amazing women wanted to leave out the back door, or they didn't want to show up, when it's never been more important that they show up. And I think if they feel that way, and I felt that way, and other people in our program are feeling that way, then probably some of you out there are feeling that way. So I wanted to open this discussion, and I'd love to invite Shalu and Heba to share their perspective and share exactly like how we are working through this for ourselves right now.
Thank you, Dr. Adila. It's so good to be here and to actually have this conversation. Because as you rightly said, we've been churning with this. And, our conversation triggered off this other conversation that I had with someone. It's got also to do with, as you rightly said, number one, there's so much out there. If I just simply take the conversation of coach and healer, there are so many people out there who are going and doing things which are so outside the purview of coaching and healing. Because I have the gift of the gab, I label myself a coach. because I have a soothing, dulcet voice. I label myself a healer. And a lot of times when people come back to me damaged by that, I actually hold my head, like literally, I'm tearing my hair out, and I'm like, whatever. That's the best way I can describe it. I do feel what you mentioned a little while ago. I do stop myself from putting myself out there. The conversation in my head has become, let me continue to do my work of substance rather than putting myself out there in social media, which is half a lie anyway. Truly, who's got these fabulous lives? I'd love to see every single individual, roaming around in the Bahamas and this, that, and the other. But anyway, so I find myself showing up where it matters and not showing up in the rest of the world. I will continue to do work and thank the Lord for allowing me to do phenomenal work with phenomenal people who do take it on themselves to come and to really shift their lives. But the amount of stuff that I find on social media in the name of coaching, in the name of healing, makes me cringe. I had started being very regular on my Coach Bhuchar Instagram account, where I was posting questions every day for people to ponder on, and I have just stopped because of what I see.
What about you, Heba? What have you experienced and found here?
I experienced, first of all, thank you for your introduction, and thank you for your honesty for what we are going through together and what's happening here in behind the scene in the coaching and healing industry. I received a lot of destroyed cases, a lot of people who their life were destroyed by another coaches or another healers. Well, I was very upset, and I'm now very upset. I'm very upset of how they introduce themselves as they will fix the whole world and they will heal everything in just a glance, and they already claim that they have all the charming tools, all the magic tools to transform their patients or their clients' life. It was a lie. It is a lie, and it will be a lie. They are fake. They introduce a fake word. They introduce a fake facts. And I was upset that I can't do anything or say anything in front of all people. I was afraid of being accused of being jealous or having the competition spirit, or I don't like this or I don't like that, or having judged all people around me, especially in the same industry or in the same field of facilitation I had. And yesterday, I was having a group session with some of my clients, and they are regular clients. They are with me now, some of them 2 years till now. And I have new clients in this group session, and they said that the transformation they had in 2 sessions with me are much more deeper, much more clearer than all the sessions, and they spent all the thousands of dollars on other sessions with other people. They charge a lot of money, a huge amount of money, literally a huge amount of money. I was shocked.
Dollars, like tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
And this woman said that I feel now that my life is easy. It's easy. I feel now that I have all my buttons. I can now do whatever I want. I was destroyed. Yesterday, I was crying when she said she was crying. What are they doing? They destroy other people. They destroy life.
Yeah.
They destroy a lot of families. Yeah. Not the woman and her husband. Okay, go and divorce him. He is not. He is not a good one for you. Leave your kids. Do whatever you want. What?
There is,
A freak facts.
yes. And one of the things, and we've talked about this before, is there's two major things at play here. Unfortunately, this is an unregulated industry. Coaching and self-development and healing, as opposed to professional, like if you come from a clinical or a professional background, this is an unregulated industry. So you can claim anything, and you can do a weekend life coaching training. You can do a 6-month trauma certification. You can do a 1-year business mastermind and come out and say, I'm a certified this, I'm a qualified that, I'm a trauma specialist, I can work with your nervous system, I can heal your relationships, I can facilitate or coach you in these areas. And exactly what Dr. Heba was saying, like, for so many years, and I still don't often speak out boldly about this, because that concept or that fear of, oh, people are going to say I'm saying this out of spite, or I'm saying this out of jealousy, or I'm saying like this is a money block. And I bring in money block because you've heard us talk about the concern about the thousands and thousands of dollars that people are paying to work with these people. And look, I facilitate many wealth programs and wealth embodiment, and this is not a money block. This is a question of integrity here. Okay, this is where we're coming from. I, in fact, will celebrate you if you charge thousands of dollars and even tens of thousands of dollars, and I have happily invested and think the investment was worth it when I have invested in the right and the qualified people in the industry that created results for me. Conversely, what we are seeing is the price point is this because it's suddenly cool, it's suddenly possible, and there is this mindset around, oh, I don't have money blocks, I can charge $10,000 a session or $2,000 a session and $10,000 a package. And unfortunately, though, what they're delivering is this, and what they're charging is that. But they're using great marketing. They're using the judgment towards them. Like, if you're bold enough to charge tens of thousands of dollars and to promise results, there's something about that does draw people in, because we have a subconscious belief and conditioning, most of us, that the more something costs, the better it must be.
Yeah.
So they're actually passing up amazing practitioners and healers. And this is, I specialize in working with healers, and I do a lot of work on something called the healer's wound. And the healer's wound is especially for those of us who are lifelong healers and have actually gone into this professionally as well. Psychotherapists, psychologists, doctors, counselors, chiropractors, acupuncturists, people who have trained professionally and then continue to do this work. One of the things that we do is we charge less as part of the healer's wound, because we're driven by this desire to help as many people as possible. And this actually works against us with the subconscious judgment and conditioning, because we're charging hundreds of dollars, someone else is charging thousands of dollars. And because of how marketing works and subconscious conditioning works, the belief is, well, actually, the person charging thousands of dollars, if people are paying them, they must be better than this person, even if they're professionally qualified, they've got 10, 20 years of experience, and they are creating life-changing results. As Shalu said, what we tend to do is put our head down and focus on the area that we can control, i.e., we can create results and we know we're doing good work, and we choose to focus on that, as opposed to choose to focus on the shit show happening out there that makes us very distressed. But I really think it's important for us to now have this conversation and to change this. and to start changing it for ourselves, and also to emerge as leaders in the industry who are functioning from a place of integrity and are also able to make really good money doing what we do.
Adila, it's interesting you said what you said a little while ago about great marketing. Here in India, I see people on Instagram feeds and on YouTube, and they're shouting. And just because they're shouting really loud and putting it out there aggressively, people are very intrigued and they get drawn in. Equally, I find, and I speak a lot more about healing through coaching. I find people who like to tell, posing as coaches. And that defeats the entire premise of coaching. You're not telling the other person, you're asking them stuff which makes them open their mind. But when I see Instagram reels, when I see YouTube videos, there's so much tell. So there's marketing, there's shouting and screaming and putting yourself out there, and then there's misinformation.
And the worst
so now what
is to jump on that is, I feel like they've seen someone else do that who may be well qualified. So, for example, you see Gary Vee operating like that. You might even hear and see Tony Robbins. He does use volume, and he uses changing state by creating physical movement and hyping people up. Now, these people have profound understanding and years of experience to use these techniques. They understand what's happening at multiple levels, and they understand why they're doing it for them to do it. And what I hear you describing is then other people, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years in, seeing that, maybe they've even attended a class or a course with them, and they're copying that approach without the depth of understanding required to understand what to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
That's exactly what's happening. I've seen someone be a success. So I'm like, let me copy this formula. And then they go with it. I recall, sorry, Heba, I kind of may have interrupted you in my train of thought. I recall, and I'll keep quiet after that. Many years ago, I think it was about a decade ago, and I was living in another city, and I chanced upon meeting someone through a thing called meetups. It was a group of people, and this individual asked me, "So, what is it that you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm a trained life coach, and I work with people on their life issues, etc." Okay, great. So we met, and then by the time we met the next time in the meetup, which was, I think, about 2 months later, I asked him, "So how are you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I'm a life coach." My jaw dropped then, my jaw is dropping now. I've just spent the past 10, 11, 12 years. I started coaching in 2002. I've just spent the last 12 years being a coach and then bringing myself to the level of a life coach. And you heard me 2 months earlier, and you've suddenly become a life coach. So I said, okay, what is it that you do? Oh, I attended a 2-day program. And so now I'm a life coach.
Everyone in this industry now is a life coach, the healer, is a facilitator. Even the facilitator of the consciousness programs or the healing programs are now, they claim that they are an experienced healer, an experienced facilitators. They facilitate people in the sessions, and they call the facilitators session or the facilitating session. Literally, it's all a lie. By asking them some questions, by asking them do some clearings or do some other healing work they do, they don't have any results.
Yeah.
The clients don't receive any results.
And it's scary, isn't it? I've heard both of you express the sentiment, like it's frightening for us what people are able to say and what they're able to claim. And whereas us coming from, many years or very experienced backgrounds with regulation. So, I was registered with the board. Heba's been registered with the board. Shalu working in corporate. We know that you cannot be irresponsible with claims. You cannot be irresponsible and you cannot be unsafe. It's called best practice and functioning to a standard of ethics that we literally swore an oath to. So for me, like just talking about myself, it was actually a huge journey to even come online and be able to talk openly about what I do, because we were so bound by patient confidentiality and not making any claims that could literally get us sued or deregistered from our board if we were found to be irresponsible, like leading people on. So I chose to leave that behind because it was limiting my ability to actually get this work out with the world. So I did stop practicing as a chiropractor. I deregistered myself and I created the Life Whispering Institute. But I didn't leave that integrity and that best practice that we were taught. So with the Life Whispering Institute, I've brought that in, and we're hoping to create the perfect balance, or that lovely medium ground where you have deep integrity, ethics, and standards of practice, but we're not so bound that we can't do testimonials, we can't use the word heal, we can't use the word transform, and we can't share our work with the world, right? So that's one thing. But what we're seeing instead is, and this really saddened me, this saddens me the most, is when I see people do it the other way around, is they have an opportunity, because there's many people who are experienced practitioners and they've come into the coaching world or the healing world, and it's unregulated. And instead of bringing that integrity and standard of practice into this world, they've actually left it behind, and they have jumped at the chance to be able to claim anything and to be inappropriate in what they offer and the claims that they make and how they interact and how much money they charge and how they disempower people if it doesn't go according to them. Like, I get deeply upset by that level of, and I'm going to use the word abuse, and it's a strong word to use.
Yeah.
It is abusive, right?
This is the right. This is the right word. This is the right description of this situation. Mm-hmm. When someone came to them, there is nothing changed. I don't receive any results. Okay, this is your fault. You can't receive it. You are resisting the receiving. And this is what makes me, what are you saying? There is no such thing. If you are really know how the human psychology works and the coaching works, you can do this. You can't abuse them. And they are abusing by this word and by calling them names. Claiming that when you calling the other people names and bullying them, this will make them move from their situation or from their places.
Yeah,
it's nonsense.
I think taking off from there, and the whole piece on trauma, I see there are so many people who have now started talking about trauma, but it's such a deep thing. I mean, I would come to you, Adila, for working on trauma. But there are so many people out there who, just because they listen to you talk about trauma and then work with wounds, they go and they start talking about trauma. And that scares me, because you literally have somebody's life in your hands. They're already going through trauma, and you want to appear cool and, oh, I know this and I'm more knowledgeable, and you want to make a little bit of money, but you're going and damaging somebody else for life. You're worsening and deepening their trauma because you don't know how to handle it.
Yes.
And that it goes totally against ethics, integrity, and basic humanity, like being humane and compassionate. Why would you do something like that? Okay, I'm getting extremely agitated about this.
Yes, they open the trauma and they leave them. They leave them without doing any healing work.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have, and right now it's trauma, right? And about a year back, the buzzword, and it still is, was actually neurology. So you'll
Yeah.
find that there's themes, like there's what's the latest buzz. Okay, so right now it's trauma. And by the way, if you're a client, like if you're listening to this, please know that there's a huge difference between trauma certified, trauma informed, and trauma sensitive. Like they're different levels of being able to work with trauma. And to be a true trauma specialist like takes years of understanding all three levels of mind, body, and energy, not just doing a trauma certification, right? But that's an aside. But I remember like about a year ago, 18 months ago, the buzzword was neurology and working with your nervous system, like hacking into your nervous system and creating more money by regulating the nervous system, creating healing by regulating the nervous system. I did a 5-year degree and 3 years of diploma in understanding the nervous system, right? And again, it's used as a buzzword. And someone asked me about it, and one of my clients actually said, "Oh, I'm doing this work with like a nervous system specialist to create results in this area." And I was like, okay, that's really awesome. And I said, by the way, like body whispering, she said, like, do you do that or do you include that approach? And I said, body whispering is all about the nervous system. It's all about regulating the nervous system. But every year we don't change the description to fit in with the latest buzzword or terminology.
The trend.
So that it markets better, okay? But I want to now so therefore make this switch into like talking about what's required, because we've talked a lot and we've again aired our disappointment, and the result of that disappointment and what we see has created us and also many others who are excellent practitioners, facilitators, and healers into not showing up in this industry, not showing up online because we do not want to be tainted with the same brush, or we do not want to speak out and be called, oh, you're just saying that because you're jealous, or you're just hopping on this trend, or you have a money block and so you don't want to see other people being successful or charging money in the same industry as you, right? So that's the juncture that we're at. But I want to talk about how we're going to move forward and how I'd love to see you guys move forward and others with the same level of expertise and experience move forward and actually start taking up space and start being seen and heard, despite the fear of judgment, despite the fear of resistance, or even having people say some of these things that you fear. Because if you don't speak up, then this continues.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
I started doing this in my last body whispering class, and I was amazed by all the feedback. They encourage me to do this. They encourage me to speak as if they want someone to speak by their emotions and their feelings. I have heard a lot of stories in this class, and one of them was a CF, certified facilitator, and she acknowledged what I said. She acknowledged what I going through and what I was going through the last years, of how we received people are destroyed, how we received cases was very, I don't know how to say it. Their cases was very deep. Their traumas were very deep, and they left without being healed after opening this wound. And I decided to talk about it on Instagram lives, Facebook live, Zoom live. Yes, I will speak. I have received a lot of complaints about sexual harassment from CFs, from facilitators, from healers here in the Arab world. And they said as if they imposed their program or a secret agenda during their facilitation or their sessions. And people are afraid to talk. They are afraid to talk they are afraid of being accused of being that they accusing them of doing this because they didn't get any results.
Yeah, it's so messed up, isn't it? And that just makes my blood boil. And this fine line between, in fact, it's not a fine line. I don't think it's a fine line at all.
It's an ethics.
Appropriate and inappropriate behavior. Like I teach you to, like, it's like a 10-foot pole, if not longer, like knowing what is appropriate and where you can cross a line and when it becomes like harassment. And there is this profound, like, if the concept of, we have this privilege, okay? It's called, when you are the facilitator or the mentor or the coach, you're in a position of power. And when we're working with people who've experienced trauma, who have been disempowered, who come to us to help them find a voice, and they look up to us, we say we're creating a safe space, right? And we know it's well known in the industry. It's why, as a doctor, as a dentist, as anyone professionally practicing, you're not allowed to have sexual relations with someone in your care. In fact, your spouse should not be your patient or your client. They should be referred out to someone else, right? Because you never want to blur the lines when you are in a position of power. You don't want to take someone who's potentially transferring feelings onto you because it's the first time they've felt safe. It's the first time they felt they can trust someone, and suddenly they think they're in love with you, or suddenly they think it's so flattering to be given your attention. And it's our responsibility to hold that safe space and to keep it safe, keep it empowering, and to facilitate true change so they can now go out and actually find empowering relationships, not disempowering cycles.
It's 12 o'clock.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, when we see the opposite happening, and it's so distressing, I know why we bury our head in the sand, because if we look at it even more, it makes us just wonder, like, how we're going to change it, because it can seem like it's so prolific. We actually hear about it a lot. I have been so disappointed over so many years from multiple modalities, including, like, the gurus in India and yoga teachers and facilitators and so many people that we hold in such high esteem, and you think, oh, they could never, they would never, it was not intentional, they didn't mean it to be perceived that way. But actually, no, we hold a level of responsibility that what we do cannot be construed in that way, that someone shouldn't go into a space of even needing to question if they're feeling sexually safe or violated in your space or not. So speaking out about this, number one, and then number two, I want to know what you guys are going to do about not holding back when you have the opportunity to educate in this area now.
I think I've already kind of started with the coaches community itself. I'm a part of a coaches community, and oftentimes I see a lot of coaches doing the tell bit. So I would do it very rarely earlier, like I'd just brush apart and I wouldn't go to those groups. But in the past week, since we've spoken, I have started going to the groups and I have started challenging and asking them, is that really coaching behavior? Because they're writing down, oh, there's this client of mine and they're going through this, and this is what I've told them. And my first question is, and why did you do the telling when you're a coach? Why would you do that? I think that's one. But the other thing I agree with Heba, I'm actually creating like a template on my Instagram, which is going to say changes coming. And from there on, I'm going to start shifting the way that I'm doing my Instagram posts. Till now, they've been all very nice and kind and gentle and prodding in terms of, all right, here's a question. Why don't you think about it? Because questions empower. Now I'm going to ask some very hard, straight hitting questions saying, all right, what's really going on here? What do you want to change? Who do you want to go to? And do you really, really want to create a change? Or are you just looking at doing a whitewash on yourself also, just to say, oh yeah, I tried something, but then you know what, it didn't work. You went to the wrong people. You went to people who are shouting and screaming from the rooftops Or did you bother to do some kind of background check? So a little bit of education also. I don't have the exact words to it right now, and of course they will only flow when I'll start. But I do believe our conversation last week made me realize that what I was doing was also disservice. If I'm saying they're doing disservice by doing the wrong thing, what am I doing if not disservice by not speaking up about it?
Yeah,
I also, yeah.
I think I said that
I also don't
in that session, and it's actually a quote I used to hold. There's two things I used to hold myself accountable. Number one, what are my thoughts and actions when no one is looking or no one's going to find out? So if there's no consequences for my actions, still, what am I going to do? So I'm not only offering refunds or being apologetic or taking responsibility when someone else is holding me accountable. No, it's like, how am I acting when I could potentially get away with so much? And all of us are in a position where we could, right? And then number two, it's the quote that I said to Shalu in that group program was, all we need for evil to triumph is for good men to stand back and say nothing.
Yes.
Saying nothing is potentially just as dangerous as actually joining that other camp, because
yes,
we don't say anything and it takes over the industry, it takes over the world, then what's the point in us continuing to do good work? Because that's now taken over and it's ruined all of our reputations.
Yeah, and I think that part of what you just spoke about ruined our reputations. I remember also being concerned about this when we were kind of, there was something and we were opening up to facilitators, and my thought of, and we have a very stringent program in facilitators, so I'm so grateful for that. But really, what is it to stop people to go out there and do absolutely anything? One bad fish will spoil a pond.
Yeah.
One person's misdoings, whether intentional or not, it doesn't even matter if they didn't intend to do it and they just went with their flow and their understanding of it. But now suddenly people are going to turn around and say, oh, but they did this, you're doing that. They said something else. That cannot be the case. If you want to raise the industry, then we've got to raise ourselves first.
And the ironic thing that when you speak with someone of those facilitators or healers, they claim that there is no right or wrong. There is no such a thing. It's this action is not wrong in my consciousness. It's bullshit. Sorry.
I agree. Yeah, there's also how you twist concepts to suit
yes, how you impose your secret agenda of doing things included in your facilitation or healer or in your certificates, what you are pretended to be. How people can get along with you. And I decided now or this action I have already taken 2 days ago, that I reported this person. I reported this person to the association. Yes, with a screenshot, with a complaint. And I listed names for the people who reported to me. I will not stand silent anymore.
This is so exciting. This is extremely exciting. And I think actually we are going to have to do a part 2 on the empowered choice to show up and, talking about healing our wounds on visibility and the fear of judgment that has been stopping us until now. And I think that would probably be a really helpful conversation for many who are listening or watching this. So I will take this opportunity to thank you both so deeply for your vulnerability, for your sharing, for your candidness. I am so excited to see you step up and be even greater leaders in the industry and global leaders, not just in your regions or in your countries or in your languages. Like it's time for you to take the global stage. And yeah, such a privilege to be able to share this conversation with you today. If those of you who are listening and watching enjoyed this, please let us know. Please leave us a review and send in your questions for the encore episode. And I will see you soon. And that wraps up another episode of the Business Whisperer podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Your support means the world to me. Now, as always, if you found value in today's episode, do me a favor and share it with someone who you know would love this information, or leave us a review so you can help other people find this podcast too. Wishing you so much success ahead, and as always, remember, keep following the whispers.